when the man who had everything, wealth, power, and a life others could only dream of, was told he had just 6 months to live. He knew he had to make every second count, but little did he know his greatest challenge would also become his greatest gift. What kind of challenge was he facing? How will his life change? Let us find out in the story. You are welcome to Chetnell's Graceful Stories. Ava stood by the rain-streaked window of her small apartment in downtown New York, watching the storm rage through the city streets. She had just returned from the hospital where she'd visited her mother. The medical bills kept piling up, and her mother's condition was getting worse. Just then, she heard a thud outside her door. Through the peephole, she saw a figure collapsed on the hallway floor. She rushed out to check who it was. Her heart racing, she recognized the expensive suit and the face. "Ethan," she screamed. "What happened to you?" Ethan Wright, heir to a real estate empire worth billions, lay crumpled against the wall. His blue eyes were unfocused, and his breathing was shallow. Ava had never seen her best friend of 15 years look so broken. "Ethan," she gasped, helping him inside. "What happened to you?" she asked again. Ethan's hands shook as he accepted the hot coffee she offered. "I went to the doctor today. The headaches, the dizzy spells." "Ava, I'm dying." The words hit her like a physical blow. "What do you mean dying?" "It has been confirmed. I have brain tumor. I have maybe 6 months. Maybe less," Ethan replied, his voice flat and emotionless. Ava felt tears burning her eyes. Ethan had been her constant through every difficult moment of her life. He was a great friend. "There has to be treatment options," she said desperately. "I've seen the best doctors. It's inoperable," Ethan replied, his voice steady but his eyes betraying his fear. Ethan took a deep breath. "Ava, I need to ask you something impossible. I need you to have my baby." Ava stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "What? Why?" "The family lawyers are already circling without an heir. Everything goes to my cousin, Julian. He'll destroy everything my grandfather built. I can't afford to take chances with him," Ethan explained. Ava's mind reeled. "You're asking me to be a surrogate." "Not exactly. The child has to be naturally conceived to avoid any legal challenges, and we'd have to get married to make it legitimate in the eyes of the family board," Ethan said, his face flushing red. Ava stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. "You're talking about a business arrangement that involves real marriage with me, your best friend. Do you know how complicated it would be?" Ethan's voice was laced with desperation. "I wouldn't ask if I had any other choice. You're the only person I trust. Ava, you're the only person who's ever seen me for me and not the right fortune." Ava steadied his face, seeing the desperation he was trying to hide. She'd known Ethan long enough to recognize when he was at his breaking point. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Because you're the only person who has ever mattered to me," Ethan replied, his voice sincere. "If I'm going to leave a child behind, I want that child to have a mother who understands what it means to be good. Not just successful, but good." Ava felt a pang in her chest. She thought about her mother lying in the hospital bed, about the bills that kept coming, about the future that seemed impossible to reach. "I need time to think," she said finally. Ethan nodded. "Of course. But Ava, whatever you decide, our friendship means everything to me. I don't want to lose that." When Ethan left, Ava's mind kept spinning. She thought about the conversation with her mother earlier. Her mother had told her not to put her life on hold. But what if this wasn't putting her life on hold? What if this was exactly what her life was supposed to be? Ava and Ethan met in a college dorm room during their freshman year. Despite their different backgrounds and interests, they quickly became close friends. Ava was a pre-med student, serious and focused, while Ethan was a business major, charming and outgoing. They bonded over late-night pizza and study sessions, and their friendship grew from there. One night, Ava was struggling with a difficult assignment, and Ethan stayed up with her, explaining complex business concepts in a way that made sense to her. She was grateful for his help, and they laughed together, realizing they made a great team. Over time, their friendship deepened, and they became each other's support system. They shared their dreams, fears, and aspirations, and they encouraged each other to pursue their passions. 15 years later, their friendship had stood the test of time, and they had become an integral part of each other's lives. Little did they know that their friendship would eventually blossom into something more. The next day, Ava met Ethan at a coffee shop near the hospital. "I've been thinking about your proposal," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's face lit up with hope. "And I'll do it," Ava said, her heart racing. "I'll marry you and have your baby." Ethan's smile was blinding. "Really?" Ava nodded. "Yes, really. But Ethan, I need you to understand something. This can't be just physical for me. I've never been the type of person who can separate emotions from intimacy. Ethan's face grew serious. I understand. I want this to be real. Ava, I want our child to be created out of something genuine between us. As they sipped their coffee, Ava felt a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe this was exactly what they both needed. I love you, Ava, Ethan said, taking her hand. I've always loved you. Ava's heart skipped a beat. I love you too, Ethan. I've always loved you too. Ethan, Ava said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's eyes lit up, and he squeezed her hand gently. Really? He asked, his voice filled with hope. Ava nodded, feeling a sense of vulnerability wash over her. Really? She replied, her eyes locking onto his. As they sat there, hands entwined, Ava felt a sense of connection she hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe this was the start of something real, something that could change their lives forever. Their conversation flowed easily, discussing everything from the wedding plans to the baby's nursery. Ava couldn't believe how natural it felt to be talking about these intimate details with Ethan. As the days turned into weeks, Ava and Ethan's relationship blossomed. They spent every spare moment together, exploring the city, laughing, and talking about their dreams. Ava felt like she was getting to know Ethan in a way she never had before. Their wedding was a beautiful, intimate affair, with only close friends and family in attendance. Ava wore a stunning white gown, and Ethan looked dashing in his tailored suit. As they exchanged vows, Ava felt a sense of commitment and love that she hadn't expected. After the wedding, they settled into a cozy routine. Ethan would spend his mornings dealing with his business empire, while Ava would visit her mother in the hospital. They'd meet up for lunch, and spend their evenings exploring the city or cuddled up on the couch, watching movies. As they navigated their new life together, Ava found herself falling more and more in love with Ethan. She loved the way he made her laugh, the way he supported her, and the way he looked at her with adoration in his eyes. But as the weeks turned into months, Ava began to notice changes in Ethan's behavior. He'd get dizzy spells, and sometimes forget things. Ava would catch him staring off into space, a look of pain etched on his face. Ethan, are you okay? She'd ask, concern etched in her voice. He'd nod, forcing a smile. I'm fine, Ava. Just a little tired, that's all. Ava knew he wasn't fine. She knew he was struggling to come to terms with his mortality, but she didn't push him. She knew he needed time to process his emotions. One evening, as they sat on the couch, watching the sunset, Ethan turned to Ava with tears in his eyes. I'm scared, Ava, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm scared of leaving you and our baby behind. Ava wrapped her arms around him, holding him close. We'll face this together, Ethan, she said, her voice filled with conviction. I love you too, Ethan, Ava replied, her heart overflowing with love and compassion. As the months went by, Ava's belly grew, and she felt the baby kick and squirm inside her. She and Ethan prepared the nursery, choosing soft pastel colors and adorable decorations. They read parenting books, attended prenatal classes, and practiced breathing techniques. And through it all, Ava and Ethan's love grew stronger. They faced the challenges of Ethan's illness together, holding hands and supporting each other every step of the way. Finally, the day arrived, and Ava gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Ethan was by her side, holding her hand, and coaching her through the contractions. As they welcomed their son into the world, Ava felt a sense of joy and wonder that she'd never experienced before. Ethan held their baby in his arms, tears streaming down his face. He's perfect, Ava, he said, his voice filled with emotion, just like his mom. Ava smiled, feeling a sense of happiness that she'd never thought possible. He's ours, Ethan, she said, her voice filled with love, and we'll cherish him and each other for as long as we can. As the days turned into weeks, Ethan's condition worsened. Ava did her best to care for him, but she knew that their time was limited. She held him close, cherishing every moment, every touch, every whispered promise. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Ethan's doctor arrived at their home. He examined Ethan and looked at Ava with a mix of surprise and hope. What's going on? Ava asked, sensing a change in the doctor's tone. I don't know how to explain this, but Ethan's tumor seems to be shrinking, the doctor said, his voice filled with excitement. It's a miracle, and I'm not sure what's causing it, but we need to run some more tests. Ava's eyes widened in shock as she looked at Ethan. He was still asleep, but a small smile played on his lips. The next few days were a blur of tests and examinations. The medical team couldn't explain why Ethan's tumor was shrinking, but they were determined to understand the cause. As the tumor continued to shrink, Ethan began to regain his strength. He started talking about his future, about watching Alexander grow up, and about building a life with Ava. Ava was overjoyed, and she felt like she was living in a dream. She and Ethan held each other, tears of joy streaming down their faces. The medical team eventually determined that Ethan's rare blood type had reacted uniquely to a medication he'd been taking, triggering an unusual immune response that had attacked the tumor. Ethan's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. He regained his health, and his cancer went into remission. Ava and Ethan were able to watch Alexander grow up, and they built a life filled with love, laughter, and adventure. Years went by, and Ethan became an advocate for cancer research, using his rare case to help others. Ava and Ethan's love continued to grow, and they became an inspiration to those around them. One day, as they sat on their porch, watching Alexander play in the backyard, Ethan turned to Ava and said, "You know, I think that tumor was just a test of our love and strength, and we passed." Ava smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "We certainly did," she said, "and look what we've built together." Ethan wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. "I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I'll face it with you and Alexander by my side." And as they hugged, Ava knew that their love would continue to be the guiding force in their lives, a love that had overcome even the most daunting challenges. Indeed, love can conquer even the darkest of times, and hope can heal even the most broken of hearts. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next video, stay kind and graceful.